I'm David Loans.
And I'm Heather Britz, and we're making bread crusty again. So this is kind of the bread that we're doing. It's artisan bread that we're making here in the Copper Country, and this is what it looks like.
Artisan bread is a simple, handmade process where we take basic ingredients and turn it into a loaf that's beautiful and also delicious. And it's using old world techniques that have kind of been lost during the mechanization of the process of baking.
All right. So despite the term artisan sounding kind of complicated, its ingredients are quite simple. And the term artisan refers to everything from the labor, the technique, work that we're putting into it, and the ingredients. And we have no preservatives or additives, of course, and we use minimally processed, unbleached organic flours. And the other staple ingredients are salt, water, and yeast, and a little bit of love.
Currently, we source everything from the co-op using all organic ingredients. The long process, 1 to 2 days, for things to set up and ferment and do all the prep work. All it's done by hand. There's no mechanization. We operate under the cottage food law as a startup just to see what the market can bear. We do small batches, and we are running a handmade marketing campaign with just basic information, email, Instagram, see what we have going on. And we have a product lineup we've developed from one offering originally. The Miner's Daughter White was our basic minimal viable product. We moved on from there to now offer a Wilder City Wheat, a 70% wheat product, a Borealis Rustic Multigrain, an Arcadian Rye, which is like our take on a Finnish rye, and a Backwoods Lavender Wheat as a specialty bread.
Okay. And we think there's kind of a holy bread market up here where there's not a lot or maybe much readily available artisan bread that use simple ingredients that are easy to digest and delicious to consume. So our target audience is essentially anybody who appreciates and values good, simple food and ingredients, and has a little bit of disposable income to be able to partake in a food experience. So that could be cooks, chefs, students, tourists, families, food enthusiasts, anyone who appreciates good food.
Currently, we're available twice a week at the Houghton and Calumet Farmers Market, reaching out to people, making connections, seeing what they want, taking requests. That's how we develop our product line. Why don't you do a wheat? Why don't you do a rye? So on and so forth. And we're really happy with that. Based on our data, 40% of our business is repeat customers. We see the same faces each week. Some of them we're learning their names, or like they like an undercooked loaf, or they would like this, or what are we doing for Thanksgiving? Things of that nature. Getting to know people because we see them every single week.
Okay. So this is kind of a typical bread that you might see in the grocery store, a commercial loaf. It's an American pan bread that often has any number of ingredients. There's a few listed there. They like to use a lot of yeast, which will allow for a shorter fermentation time in their bread. They also will use extra yeast and other additives for flavoring. Most commercial breads will also use preservatives. They'll use coloring agents like caramel coloring or egg washing to enhance the color. And it's really hard to find a loaf of bread from a commercial bakery that doesn't add sugar to their bread. And the sugar is used mostly for flavor and also to feed their galactic yeast load. And many retail establishments and bakeries and commercials use will freeze their dough, and then they get this.
We're trying to do things differently. We use very few ingredients. We have a much higher water content, allowing to ferment and set up longer, giving us much more time to develop flavor. A lot of our things use a natural yeast from this area, from the Keweenaw, that we've been working on for a long time. Our color comes naturally. We bake at very high heat, 550 like you would cook a pizza. That's how we get these amazing crusts. Again, there's no caramel or egg wash or anything done. It just happens from the caramelization of the wheat. We don't add any preservatives. The loaves have a lower pH by nature and sit on the counter and last easily 5 days to a week by themselves. We don't add any sugar. We feel it's not necessary, and it's moderately unnatural, and we don't freeze anything. We make everything fresh every single time. The organic market, as everyone knows, is growing. It's set to grow exponentially from the last decade until now. We feel even in a community such as this, we can tap into some of that market. The co-op sales have gone up year over year, and I feel like in Houghton, there's nobody doing it, an organic bakery like this, artisan or not. And we feel that other markets, even in the UP, have shown that the organic food market is really strong.
So in the future, we see some potential opportunities. Right now, we're at the farmers markets, and those have been going really well. And a lot of people have been asking us, well, what are we going to do in the winter when the market's over? So some people have asked us about, maybe doing some kind of CSA type setup, but it'd be more like a CSB, community-supported baking. So that is definitely a potential opportunity, as well as being able to just take orders from customers. Like if someone wants 5 loaves next week, we'll be like, okay, sure, we can definitely do that. And then also maybe collaborating with some local cafes or restaurants. If they want some loaves, we can work with them and maybe work out of their space because they have a commercial kitchen. Which is part of our long-term goal is that we would have a community bakery or a commercial kitchen so that we can wholesale to other customers. And we have some future products that we really want to work on over the winter, like baguettes and sandwich bread, sourdoughs, focaccias, bagels. And to do that, we need to kind of scale up a little bit and just invest in some baking gear, some better equipment that would allow us to expand our capacity a little bit. And then also collaborate, again, with someone who has a commercial kitchen already, and until we can establish our own. And something that's really important to us is to maintain the quality and integrity of the artisan concept.
Thanks for the 1 million cups and the Coffin Foundation for having us. It forces us to really evaluate our business and get up early in the morning and share it with you guys. Some of you do the farmers market, some of you don't, but reaching as many people and getting out there is kind of what this is about. We'd just like to thank you in general. And now it's time for Q&A.
So, what's your background?
My background, I guess I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done manufacturing startups when I was younger. I went on to do some web-based stuff in the early 2010s. Done some agricultural work. There's a lot of different things, but I know what it takes to get to a minimum viable product, how to treat your customers fairly, and how to offer something that no one else is doing. Seeing that opportunity and seizing on it is part of the deal. And it's not the idea. The idea isn't to open a little cafe and sell coffee. That's cute. People are doing that. But I think that a model wholesale bakery in the area is something that can sustain itself. But yeah, I feel like getting an opportunity, finding a niche, and filling it is the basis of this. And if you're taking an idea and working it through its concept all the way to the execution of it is more important than anything else. Your background?
So I grew up here in Chassell specifically. Went to Tech and went to a college out on the East Coast. But here at Tech I studied anthropology, and I actually did most of my academic work involving local food and local food systems. And I also have a job where I do that as well. So I'm very into the food. I like the food.
Don't we all like the food? Yes, sir.
How did you come up with the name?
We looked at things that were that represented us. Essentially, we don't want to take ourselves too seriously. To be honest, I think a lot of people view certain kind of things as mildly pretentious. We didn't want to come off that way, but we also didn't want to be whimsical either. And that's kind of it. Is not taking ourselves too seriously, looking at the big picture, and just something that was unique. We didn't want to be Red Jacket, Superior, there's so many, it's almost a trope of names of this area where you kind of embrace the community, and I'm not from here, so that makes me moderately uncomfortable. So that's why we're not doing a Nisu, or things of that nature, because it doesn't make sense for me at this point. But that's the story on that. Anybody else?
You said you were looking for commercial collaboration. How big of a capacity do you expect?
Well, so we're looking at the possibility of going into select markets, essentially areas that would resell our bread and have it available 365 days a year. So, for example, the co-op bakes a very small amount of bread, maybe I think a dozen loaves or more a week. That would be an opportunity. Gyms, for example, on the other side of the bridge, a small available to college students and also working professionals. That would be a thing. Contrast coffee's coming into Hancock, people like that. QAnon Coffee Works. So something to sustain, say, production of hypothetically 100 loaves a day or somewhere around there, even half of that would do well. Not a huge location, but something that get up early, get the bakes done, delivered to the retailer, so they're cool by the time they get there, and then go from there. So not monumentally big, but big enough that if we wanted to and things did well, we could expand our reach.
What is your capacity now?
Right now, yesterday at the farmer's market, we did 50 loaves, like 4 dozen. We could probably do 60 or 70 loaves if we had to. That's how I know. I just want to do it in a little more efficient scale. Essentially, doing it out of a home oven, even though I have some nice gear, like a Gen Air double convection oven, stainless. It's the best home thing you could have for this type of deal. Even that, baking 4 loaves at a time, trying to bake 48 loaves, takes forever. And so scaling to a commercial deck oven, like what you'd see in most pizzerias, so we could do maybe a dozen at a time, or even 6 at this point, would help us scale and cut down our labor costs.
So are you currently operating under the cottage food law?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so we're capped at 28,000, but it's almost helpful for us because it would force us to scale, essentially. And this season has told us that if we want to do it again, that would be one of the hindrances of the amount of revenue we can generate. Except the farmer's market's been actually, if you do it, we're at $10 a pop, essentially at retail. So yesterday alone, we could do several $100s in sales twice a week. So we could do some decent business even under the cottage food law.
Could you bake in the evening? If you were talking about doing it in the morning, then...
Yeah, well, we could bake whenever. That's one of the collaborations that we were looking at is essentially if the situations were optimal, most restaurants, they're not open and using their kitchen until early into the day, 9, 10 o'clock. Hypothetically, if we got there at midnight or 1 or 2 a.m., baked all night, and as they were coming in, we were leaving and delivering our products, that would be a good symbiotic use of these things. So we could bake in the evening and then deliver in the morning, hypothetically.
We have a big oven. It's about the size of that screen up there, in a big square like that, and it's got all these carousels.
Oh, carousel oven, yeah.
We bake 600 pasties at a time.
Okay.
And it's not used in the evening at all.
Right, okay. I'm more than willing to hear you on this. That sounds great. Anybody else? There was a question over here.
Do you provide gluten-free products?
We don't.
No, not at this time.
No, well, it's actually, gluten-free is a pretty big market right now, but in some ways it would kind of jeopardize artisan because there's so many ingredients in a gluten-free loaf that it kind of wouldn't fit under the artisan concept.
It's just like if you look at even the packages of the prepackaged, the prepackaged gluten-free flours, it's like xanthan gum and preservatives and rice flour, and there's like 50 different things to try to make it essentially be a bread and not make gluten. And we just we wanted to focus on doing a good job in what things that we can control, and it's not that we don't see the need in the market, but I think there could be, if there's another startup that did gluten-free bread, we would totally support them, which is not our market. Yes, sir.
Do you have the capability to grind raw grain to flour?
No, we do not, and that's something that's been brought up because we looked at what are options for local grains. This isn't exactly the grain belts of the Midwest, but that's something that we'd like to do because then you get a lot more control. Not to get deep into the minutia of it, but what determines a pastry flour from a whole wheat flour and whatnot is the protein content, how it's milled, things of that nature to really allow you to control your final product. That's why a croissant tastes different, than a multigrain or whatnot. Obviously, the content of those things. That's something I would love to look forward in the future. Even some of my, honestly, friends that have done other restaurants and pizza places, like if you can get your own grinds, if you can get your own mill, and it's not as big and impressive as you think, you can get some of these smaller things that are designed for community farms and community kitchens. I would love to do something like that in the future.
I've got 4,000 bushels of wheat.
Okay.
I have to haul it to Minnesota, so there was an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh?
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you guys again for the opportunity, and we're glad to be here.
So the final question is,
Yeah.
what can we as a community do to support you?
Feedback.
We've been up and
Yeah,
Community open.
sounds like the community is doing great. I just keep an open opportunity for new things and new ideas, and the community's been really with open arms. Really, people, even if they haven't seen Artisan Bakery, they're willing to try new things. And I would just say be patient. I think a lot of these things, people just get pushed a little bit, and they want to run the bank and get all these things and build out. We're taking it slow because we want to make sure that when the things get there, when the products are at their zenith, we will unleash them on the rest of the community. But I just be patient with us and be open-minded.
Provide feedback.
Yes, feedback.
Any kind of feedback.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.